So I haven't seen you all since I got back from another journey to Teotihuacan, Mexico. And it's very interesting to me. I've always been, and continue sort of to be, someone that pursues one way of seeing at a time. So when I came here, when I met Mitch, when I found this place in 1991, so that's how long I've been around and how old I appear to be, I didn't want to study anything else. I wanted to take Mitch's classes. I wanted to read the texts that were part of this teaching. I wanted to know this. So it's interesting to me that sort of at the beginning of that time, or somewhere in that time, the book, The Four Agreements, came out. And it became sort of required reading for everybody that was in a spiritual path. I didn't read it. I bought it. I have all the books. I mean, I have The Power of Now. I have, Return to Love. I have all the books that have been, very popular in this idea of spiritual development. I've read almost none of them. I mean, I kind of know what they say, but I hadn't read them. And I had not read the Four Agreements really until I read it and taught about it here, thinking I knew what I was talking about. And then I met Jenny Gentry, who was a student of Don Miguel Ruiz for 35 years. And for the last 30 years of that relationship, she co-taught with him and really was pretty much instrumental in getting Miguel to write this book. It was a teaching he had taught a lot. She had heard a lot. She encouraged him, this is the book that will make Toltec and you famous, this teaching. So she helped him write the book. And I've had the amazing privilege of being able to study with her over the last year and ongoing. She is what the Toltec call Nawal, which is sort of their word for shaman. So it's sort of like what's next for me. And what's amazing, what's fascinating is how it teaches exactly the same thing we believe here. It's just a new way of looking at it, and I like the challenge of that. So I'm going back in February, then I'm going back in May, and then I'm going back in October, because I just want to keep opening myself up to this experience of looking at it from a different perspective and different ways of experiencing it through the rituals and ceremony and the teaching and the language that is used there. So this morning, I'm going to talk about the Parasite, but it's going to take me a minute to get there, because I want to first read from the Four Agreements the introduction, where he explains what the Toltec is. Thousands of years ago, the Toltec were known throughout southern Mexico as women and men of knowledge. Anthropologists have spoken of the Toltec as a nation, as a race, but in fact, the Toltec were scientists and artists who formed a society to explore and conserve the spiritual knowledge and practices of these ancient ones. They came together as masters, and then in parentheses he says, Nawals, and students at Teotihuacan, the ancient city of pyramids outside of Mexico City, known as the place where man becomes God. That's what Teotihuacan, it's translated, where man becomes God. And over the millennium, the Nawal have were forced to conceal the ancestral wisdom and maintain its existence in obscurity. European conquest, coupled with rampant misuse of personal power by a few of the apprentices, made it necessary to shield their knowledge from those who were not prepared to use it wisely or who might intentionally misuse it for personal gain. I kind of want to stop there for a minute and say, you've heard me speak here before about the 4 levels of spiritual development as it applies to what we believe here concerning science of mind. The first one being the victim, the second one being the manifester, the third being the channel, the fourth being the mystic, right? What he's saying here about how people can misuse this knowledge for their own personal gain is a whole lot what the manifester stage is. It's taking this knowledge and saying, oh, look, I can create a fabulous life. Now, nothing wrong with that, but it's not a place to stop. We got to move on to this place where it's not it as me, it's it through me. It through me, it as me, right? You said that, Gwen, you said it in your introduction this morning, and it's very much a part of what you read. It's move on, folks. You know, move on. And I'm saying that to me first. Move on. Let's get this thing to where it's something that doesn't just bless us, it blesses the world around you. It blesses the greater good, okay? Fortunately, the esoteric Toltec knowledge was embodied and passed on through generations by different lineages of Nawals. Though it remained veiled in secrecy for hundreds of years, ancient prophecies foretold the coming of an age when it would be necessary to return to the wisdom of the people. Sounds like a time right now. Sounds like what we need. Don Miguel Ruiz, a Nawal from the Eagle Knight lineage, has been guided to share with us the powerful teachings of the Toltec. Now, this is the part that's going to talk about what Buddy and Antoinette just sang. Here we go. Toltec knowledge arises from the same essential unity of truth as all the sacred esoteric traditions found around the world, including science of mind, right? Though it is not a religion, it honors all the spiritual masters who have taught on the earth. While it does not embrace spirit, it is most accurately described as a way of life, distinguished by the ready accessibility of happiness and love. What if that's all there is? What if this is all we need to know? I'm going to read just a little bit more, which brings in what you just sang, Antoinette. In the first chapter, or really it's in the introduction, if you're one of those people that you read books and you don't read the foreword and the introduction, you might be missing some of the best part of the book. I'm just saying. Okay, so he talks about, I'm not going to read it, I'm going to just talk about it. He talks about a man who had a dream. And in the dream, he realized when he was looking at the stars that he was actually made of light. I am made of stars, he said. He looked at the stars again and he realized that it's not the stars that create the light, but the light that creates the stars. Ponder that for a moment or a year or two. It's not the stars that create the light. They're just radiating that which they are made of. And so are we. Because see, what he goes on to say is then he realized that he too is made of that same light. Everything is. All is light. All is energy. All is, dare I say, love. It's at the point that we have misunderstood this that we suffer. What if that's all we need to know? What if the only thing you need to walk out of here knowing today is, oh, there's a part of me that's light. Has always been light. It vibrates and operates at the same energy level as light. Now this is where the part of the parasite comes in. Because you see, I'm going to start here. So a few years ago, I remember a particular actress and celebrity who suddenly lost an enormous amount of weight. And she had always been fluffy, but all of a sudden she's showing up as this like svelte, like, model kind of stick thin, gal. And people were going, ooh, wow, you've kind of transformed here. And she said, yeah, well, I want to tell you how it happened. I started getting sick and I couldn't eat. And we went to the doctor, and it took a long time. They finally discovered that I had eaten something at a beach. I'm not going to say what it is because I don't want you to get paranoid. But I had developed a parasite that was eating me. It was eating me. Right? So, the metaphor of the parasite that I want to talk about today is that episodes in our life have developed a parasite in our existence. Now, what do parasites do? They feed off the host. They feed off the host. So with us, if we have a parasite that we need to contend with, that we need to wrestle, that we need to subvert, what is it feeding off of? It's feeding off our light. It's feeding off our self-energy. It's feeding off that which we are, the true me. It's feeding off me. It's distracting me. It believes it's real. It believes it's true. It believes it deserves to survive. Right? That's what viruses do. That's what parasites do. That's what they do. It's like, I'm going to do everything I can to survive. So, where does this parasite come from? Now, I'm going to say a word that I wish I never had to say again. I'm so sick of saying it, I can barely stand it. I'm so sick of hearing my clients say it, I can almost just want to throw up every time I hear it. And the word is trauma. Oh my gosh. Wow, do we overuse that word? Except that, well, it's true. It's just so true. It's just so true. What is trauma? It is adverse experiences of our life till now that have bent us, that have altered us. Trauma, the first thing it does is separate us from our authentic self. It's its first thing. It separates us from our authentic self, this part of us that is light. So right off the bat, it's doing its parasitic best. It separates us from our sense of safety, connection, and self-worth. It starts making us challenge these things and the things that have been in our life that have made us feel safe, connected, and worthy, and it challenges them. That's what trauma does. Adverse childhood experiences. Who knows what those are? No, don't raise your hand. I hate it when people are speaking and they want you to raise your hand for everything. Sorry, just me. It bothers me. Adverse childhood experiences, or ACEs, are potentially traumatic events that occur in childhood between 0 and 17 years. For example, all right, note these because I would maybe ask you to raise hands, but I'm not going to. Experiencing violence, abuse, or neglect. Witnessing violence in the home or the community. I don't know, the 5 o'clock news. Having a family member attempt or die from suicide. substance use problems, mental health problems, instability due to parental separation or household members being in jail or prison or divorce. Wow. Sounds like life. Hang on, I need to find something else. Well, I'm not going to find it, but I remember it. They believe now that 68% of people have experienced, are you ready? 6 or more adverse childhood experiences before age 17. Whenever you go, those are categories. When you go through the list, I'm sitting there going, check, 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 check. And these adverse childhood experiences have a profound, measurable, scientific research, measurable effect on our physical and mental health. I'm going to say they create a parasite in us that keeps saying to us, who you were when you were born is not who you are now. And you can never get back. You can never get back. Gabor Mate, who is someone these days who's kind of like the guru of all things traumatic and how to heal trauma, reminds us that trauma is formed by things that actually happen. It forms a wound, is the metaphor he uses, that when it is touched, which we call the word trigger, another word I wish I never had to hear again as long as I live. But when we are triggered by something around us that reminds us, see, because there's this wound that happens, and then we spend the rest of our life interpreting other events and piling them on. Yes. Oh, see, that just confirms. See, that just confirms. That just confirms. But this is true. Because every time that wound is touched or triggered, you go, ouch. It's true. I have to avoid that. I can't be near that. I have to do everything in my life to walk on eggshells. And not only me, by the way, you too. Please walk on eggshells around my wound. Yeah? You know those people? You are those people, by the way. Just saying. So am I. I'm so offended. You're hurting me. It's all about me and my wound, me and my trauma. Jenny Gentry said to me when we were in Teo this last time, she said, pain is trauma grown up. Suffering is trauma grown up. The story we tell ourselves about who we are is trauma grown up. Ooh, take that in for a second. See, this is me as an adult saying, this is who I am. This is who I am. It's how I'll always be. Oh, there's where it is. How do we move away from trauma? How do we move away from the parasite? How do we deal with this thing that we're calling, in this metaphor, the parasite? She says we make a conscious decision to pivot, to see something other than the parasite. Because you see, the parasite robs us of self-energy, so the only way to deal with the parasite is to return to self-energy. Now you say to me, well, that just sounds very elusive. I don't even know what that means. And I wish I could say to you today, here are the 5 things to do, and you will return to self-energy, and you will keep the parasite at bay. Wouldn't that be lovely? I work, every day, all day, with people who are horribly traumatized. And it's made them do some ridiculous things. They have habituated ridiculous things trying to deal with the pain, the trauma that has grown up and become pain and suffering and a story they tell themselves about who they are. And I'm telling you, it is true of every client that I work with, that what I see in their eyes, what I know to be the truth of why they're sitting in front of me is, find the switch that you can flip it and it'll all go away. And they are so disappointed, we have to get them past this point when I say to them, it is about looking at yourself differently. It's about telling yourself a different story. It is about returning to self-energy. Because when we're talking about finding safety, finding connection, finding self-worth, guess where the only place it can be found? In me, in you. Now, here's the other thing trauma does. That's emotional. The parasite says that place is not safe. See, that place isn't safe because we've habituated a way of being, a way of seeing, a way of believing, a way of acting that perpetuates the parasite, not the self. So when I say to you, what would it look like for you to turn inward? The first response, I'm telling you, and maybe some of you are even having it right now, is no. That place is not safe. I cannot trust that person. I cannot trust the authentic me. I'm so separate from it, I don't even recognize it, but I know one thing, it is not safe to go there. It hurts too bad to go there. Oh, beloved. It's the only place we can find comfort. It's the only place we can find light. It's the only place we can find love, self-love, authentic love. Yeah. We have to turn from the influence the parasite has on us and become elusive prey. I love that. Elusive prey. Yeah, we stop believing the story. We stop rehearsing the story. We listen to our language. Now, we say here a lot, I say a lot, the words I am are the most creative force in the universe. When I say I am, whatever follows will be true. Right? So start noticing. Start noticing your talk. Start noticing what you say. Start noticing what you give your faith and your loyalty to. I am whole, complete, and perfect. There's a good place to start. I am love. I am light. I am a unique vision of all that is. I am it. Ooh, but here's the good news, but not all of it. I'm it, but not all of it. Yeah, I am light, but not all of the light, because the light is everyone and everything. I'm it. Oh, but thank God I'm not all of it. No, right? I mean, isn't that the most comforting thought? I'm it, but I'm not all of it. I mean, I just keep coming back to this. I know you're sick of it, maybe. I don't know. I hope not. But that every time I come here, I get on that and I just want to say it about 20 times. Because it's the most comforting thing I can come up with is I am never not it. And yet there's so much more of it that is available to me, that is asking me to come on, come on, come on. So, the way to deal with the parasite is to become elusive prey. I'm just not going to give it my attention. I'm just not going to give it my thoughts. Now you're saying, Gregory, what does that mean? It means stop judging yourself. Stop judging others. See, this is where the parasite gets most of its power. It gets most of its power with this inner critic. It is the inner critic. It is the inner judge. It's the one that says, not enough, never be happy, can't have enough, can't get it, won't be it. Now, here's the thing. Jenny also said this when we were down there, and I wrote it down because I thought, oh my gosh. What's the difference between discernment and judgment? Because there is a thing that's discernment. Discernment is just wisdom. Discernment is just truth. The difference between discernment and judgment is discernment is just wisdom. Judgment is wisdom with an emotional attachment to something else. You see that? An emotional attachment. So when I'm saying, I'm not enough, that's not discernment. See, that's this emotional attachment that I feel like, based on prior experience, based on adverse childhood experiences, based on trauma, I feel that I cannot be enough. That's not discernment. That's the emotional attachment coming up. Right? So, discernment might be, there is so much more that I want to be. And I can be it. And I can have it. If I can let go of my judgment. So Jenny says, become elusive prey. Become impartial. Find self-energy. And then here are the three words I'm going to use that I want you to see what you can do to add these to your life and to your daily experience. Are you ready? Notice. Notice. What does that mean? That's the second word, curious. Notice. Become curious. Ponder. I wonder where that came from. With no judgment, I don't have any emotional attachment to this pondering. I wonder where that came from. Oh, there it is. I wonder if I could let that go. I wonder if I could let go of any attachment I have to that. I wonder if I could say the healing comes from me. I'm not looking outside of myself for someone or something to make that change. I'm just going to notice it. I'm going to become curious about it. I'm going to find compassion towards myself for it. What if I even could find compassion for whomever I judge caused it? Because, see, I have to let it go. And letting it go means letting go of every part of it, including my judgment about it and my judgment about the person or the event that caused it. I'm letting it go. See, that's how we come to the place of what your songs were about again. I'm letting in the light to deal with this. I can't. Although, by the way, the light is me, right? Because it is me, but not all of it, right? But I'm letting in the light. I'm shining light on it. And then I'm finding this. What if love is the only answer? What if love is the only response? You know. Love, light. Awareness. Recovery is about awareness. Recovery is about awareness. It's returning to awareness. In the last few months, Jenny has published a book. It's a little book. I'm going to urge everyone to buy it. Write it down if you want or don't. It's called Dreaming Down Heaven, the 12 Keystones. Where I work at Integrative Life Center, we give everyone a copy of the 4 agreements. When we do a family workshop, all the family members that come get a copy of the 4 agreements. We're now ordering this and getting ready to give this to all of our clients too. But let me read this, and I'm going to close with this. I'm going to try not to cry. Dear one, do you honestly believe that you could be intrinsically flawed? Be assured that this nonsensical thinking is merely a result of the fear that blinds you, leading you to search in vain for the missing pieces that might ease your becoming impossibly faultless. What you long for does not exist outside of yourself. So it cannot be found through relationships, treasures, or status. The actual wellspring of happiness has simply faded from your awareness. You have forgotten you are born whole and perfect and irrevocably connected to the heart of the sacred. Love could not have been missing for you. Love could not have been missing, for you are its source. Miracles await you, beloved, if only you remember who you truly are. I will share with you 12 keystones, the foundational principles that release you from the slumber of forgetfulness. And that's what this book is about. I love you all so much. I appreciate your letting me be on this journey and come here and speak to you about it. I just always feel like, they tell you when you're in school to learn how to do what I'm doing today, always leave them with an action, a call to action. What's the call to action? Here's the call to action. Ponder. Be curious. Yeah, notice. Be gentle with yourself. Gentle, gentle, gentle. Because it's hard enough believing the things that are in our head. The result of all of this, trauma, adverse experiences, the parasite. So be gentle. It's going to take some time. Or not. Return to the light. Return to love. I love you all so much. Thank you.
Welcome to the Sunday service at CSLN. We are a welcoming and inclusive community of inspired individuals caring for and about each other and the entire planetary family. The Center for Spiritual Living Nashville offers spiritual tools for anyone seeking a more fulfilled and meaningful life through a deeper connection with a higher power or universal truths. Be sure to subscribe below if you enjoy our programs.